So right now we opened up a science and technology review, and this is show what you know. So the first thing you do is you open the study sheet, you click this link, and it will prompt you with this Word document. We'll get back to that in a second. Right. So what you're supposed to do here is you, next to each invention slash innovation, you write a short description of it and write the appropriate era of history in which it was invented. So make sure, right, that you fit everything in these little boxes. You don't have to go too long or crazy or anything like that. Right? Some inventions might not need a description. So then let's begin on the assignment. So the first example we have is invented by Joseph Glidden during the Gilded Age. Right, barbed wire was a kind of fence that caused an end to long drives. It ended the cattle drive system and set up the pasteurized system of compartmentalized farmland that we know today. The next invention we have is the windmill, all right? And these also came into existence. It's a little bit before. It's more like the era of Western expansion. Industrial Revolution. And these came into existence in 1854. These were used to power basic factories and were also used to crush grain and um, and these had other agricultural purposes. Okay, steel, right? Remember, this was the Gilded Age. Here we had the Bessemer process, right? This was used to create steel from iron and was used for bridges, railroads, and skyscrapers. This happened during the Gilded Age. Okay, automobiles, right? Let's remember Henry Ford. These came into existence at the end of the Gilded Age and revolutionized transportation because people could own their own means of long distance travel. This happens Gilded Age into the Progressive Era. Okay, let's take a look here. Next one we have is railroads. Now, while railroads came into existence a lot earlier, especially commercial railroads, right? The mass popularization of the railroads came to prominence during the era of Western expansion. This now created, remember what we called the national market, right? Where goods be transferred across the entire country. This now created the national market system. So this is the era of Western expansion. The refrigerated rail car was used to. What was the refrigerated rail car really used to do? It was used to carry slaughtered cattle across the United States to meat packing facilities. And this happened during the Gilded Age. This would be Oppenheimer, really, for the most part. Oppenheimer. The nuclear bomb was used during World War II to force the Japanese to surrender. right? This would be World, not Wardla, World War II. Okay, the assembly line. Remember, perfected by Henry Ford. The assembly line increased mass production and drove prices down to flood the markets with consumer goods. You could say Gilded Age to Roaring Twenties. It, invented, the airplane was invented first by the Wright brothers. This invention ushered in fast transport as Lindbergh was the first person to solo fly across the Atlantic. And this happened. We'll put this during the Roaring Twenties because that's when Lindbergh flew his solo flight across the Atlantic Ocean.
Interruption. At Ford Fusion, license plate HLB 6856 needs to be moved from the back parking space.
So, nuclear power plants were invented.
As well, a white Honda Civic. It needs to be moved from the back of the parking lot. Again, the first one is a Ford Fusion and a white Civic Honda that needs to be moved from the back parking lot. Thank you.
Okay, so nuclear power plants. Right? Nuclear power plants were really invented in the 1970s. That's where we see their existence come into prominent use. Right? These become popular and they revolutionize power during the gas crisis. But right, these nuclear power plants are often found to be a dangerous form of generating power and electricity. This comes in during the 1970s. Right, this decade of social change and reform. So the radio begins to be used widely for social purposes and entertainment during the 1920s. Before that, it was used to communicate war logistics during World War One. You could say here World War One, not World Two. World War One to the Roaring '20s. Okay, the polio vaccine. This was invented by Jonas Salk in the 1950s. This vaccine prevented the transmission of polio, which saved many children's lives. Get your COVID vaccine, good people. Okay, electric power. This was first, right, electric power comes into existence really in the 1820s, but this was first made prominent during the Gilded Age, as now factories could be lit and powered and we're more efficient to be run 24/7. That means 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to create more goods. Right? This happened during the Gilded Age. All right, robotics. Right, beginning in the 1980s and continuing to today, robotics automates and replaces human labor for banal or dangerous tasks. And the era right now, this would be conservative turn to the present, and that's really 1980s till now. Satellites, so right, global positioning systems and other information networks use these machines orbiting in space to give us data on Earth about our locations. This is the same 1980s until now. Right, conservative turn to the present. GPS, right, global position, pretty much the same thing. Positioning, got to spell that correctly. Global positioning systems triangulate our exact position and place us relative to where we need to be. Right? This is something we use every time we use our